right. Okay. All right, so we're chapter 9. Let me get those files. Download those. All right. I'm going to make a folder. Files in. All right. Let's open up brackets. Okay, for the first one, this one, we're just going to make a super simple form. So it's on page 406 in the book. And we're going to start out with just our standard template HTML file. So we'll open that up. That's just from that chapter 2 files. So the template one, just our basic one there. All right, and so we're going to make that just a little email field there. All right, so let's change our title here. Form example. And we'll add in an H1 element. Says join our newsletter. Okay. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add in that form tag, right? So in our form element, we've got our opening and closing tags there. And then inside of that, remember we need to choose a method for our forms, either get or post. Okay, so for this one, just use form method equals get. All right. And then later on, we'll add in the action for those that we send when we send our form data to a server side. And so now we're going to add in text here. So email : and so that's going to show up in the browser. And now we need to add that field. Okay, so we're going to add an input element. And we're going to tell it what type it is. So it's going to be a text. So type equals text. All right. We also need to assign a name to that field. So name equals email. And then also we're going to have an ID. Okay, so one thing to pay attention here in the name and the ID properties here, or the attributes. I usually keep these lowercase. I don't use a lot of special characters, no spaces. Okay, just kind of a standard naming practice there. All right, so we close that off. Okay, so that'll give us that. And then let's add a couple of line breaks here. All right. And then let's put our, we need a sign up button and a reset button. Okay, so we need to add another input element here. Okay, and this one's going to be type equals submit. All right. And we're going to assign a value to this. So this is the text that's going to show up on the button. So that value equals, and then quotes, sign me up. And this can have spaces and special characters. All right, we're going to close that one off. And then we just need our reset button. So another input. Type. This one's going to be reset. Okay, and if I just want to say reset, I don't have to add any value to that because it'll automatically put it in there. Okay, then we have our closing form tag. All right, so let's go ahead and save as. We'll just call this form1.html, put it in my folder here. And let's preview that. All right, so just super basic, got an email field here where we could type in, and then we'd have the submit button and the reset. Okay, it's not going to do anything right now because it's not tied to a server or anything. Okay, so but that's how we get it to show up in our HTML document as a form. All right, let's go to the second one here. So page 411. Okay, so we're going to add a little bit of styling here. So let's go ahead and open. We'll just keep using the same one we have here. Okay. We'll just do a save as so we don't overwrite it. We'll just save as form2.html. Let's call this title. We'll call it contact form. Right, and we'll change our H1 to contact us. All right. So let's go here. So if we're on page 412, step 3, okay, we're going to add a first name, last name, and then a comments section, okay, as well as our email. All right, so the previous page 411 shows what it should look like. All right, so let's leave all that. All right, so down here, right after that opening form element tag, I'm going to put first name, okay, space, and then input, type equals, and we're going to do a text box, okay, and then the name equals, we'll do F name, so for first name, and then our ID is going to be the same thing, F name. Okay, so we need both of those, name and ID. All right, so let's close that, add a couple of line breaks. Now we're going to do last name. Okay, same thing here. Put type text, all right, it's text field. For this one, name, we'll use L name. Name equals L name for last name, and ID, same thing. Close that off. A couple line breaks. All right, then we've got our email already. Okay, so that's good. All right, now after our email, we need to put in that comments section. Okay, so I'm going to go down here and we're going to do comments. I'm actually going to put a line break so it goes directly below that. And now we're going to do, instead of input type, we're going to put text area. Okay. And assign it a name. So it's just comments and ID equals comments. And then we can close that off. Okay, so we need our closing text area. Whoops. There we go. Okay. Okay, so that's our opening tag there. closing tag. Okay, so right now, let's save this and just take a look at what we got. It's just going to set it up for our comments here as kind of the default amount of size. Okay, so remember, we can actually make this larger and add some more options there. Okay, so let me add a couple of line breaks here too. About those. So we're going to go back to step 6 there. We can add some rows and columns. All right, so in this opening tag here, right after ID, let's do rows equals, we'll put 4 rows, and we're going to do columns, so COLS, and we'll do 40 columns to make it kind of wide. So it's basically like 40 characters wide there. Okay. So let's save that now and see what we got. Okay. So now you can see here we have a wider comment area. We got a couple of rows. Okay. So we could have multiple text there, and it keeps expanding as we type more, right? So we could adjust that if we want to limit the amount of characters as well. So those are just additional attributes that you would put into that opening text area tag. Okay. All righty. So let's go to 9.3. Okay. And for this one, we're going to keep working with this one. All right, so we're on page 418, and we're going to add even some more styling. Okay, we're going to add a field set and a legend, and then apply some CSS to this as well. All right, so keep using the same one here. Let's just do a save as. Do file. We'll just call form 4. I guess is what they tell us here in the book. Yeah. Okay. So page 418, if you're following along. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do is add an opening field set tag right after that opening form tag. Okay. So we're gonna do field set. And then all right, so the closing field set tag, that's going to go before that label for comments, right? Because when we use a field set, we're grouping stuff together, okay? So we want these first 3 areas, name, first name, last name, and email to be grouped together. Okay, so that's where we're going to put that closing tag for the field set. All right, and then immediately after that opening field set, we're going to add a legend. All right, so the legend is, what do we call it? Customer information. Okay, so we got opening legend tag, customer information. All right, and then that closing legend. All right, then we're closing field set. All right, let's save this and take a look. Make sure it looks right. Okay, so yeah, you can see here what it does. Basically, it's grouping those first 3 fields together into this customer information group. Okay, so we get that by using the field set and that legend element. Okay, all right. Now we're going to style this. So so let's jump to page 420 to give us the styles that we're going to do. All right, so we're going to go up here into our head section. We'll just do an embedded style sheet. All right, so first one, we're going to style the field set element. And let's set the width for it. And for the width, we're going to use 320 pixels. Let's add a border. Let's do 2 pixels, ridge. We'll assign the color to that. Okay. We can add some padding and a margin on the bottom. So let's do padding of 10 pixels. And we'll get the border bottom of, or I'm sorry, margin bottom, not border bottom. Margin bottom of, what do we got, 10 pixels. Okay. All right, so that's for the field set. So that's that first group. And then we can also style that legend text. So we're gonna use font family, Georgia, Times New Roman and serif. And just a reminder, if we have a font that's multiple words, we have to put it in quotes there. New Roman and, oops, forgot my comma there. Serif. And we're going to make that bold, so we can do font weight. We'll set that to bold. All right. Label. Oh, you know what? I forgot the label. I think I missed a step. Let's see. And where did I miss that? Oh, 9.3. Did I totally skip over 9.3? I think I did. Okay. All right, let's just jump back a couple steps here. Page 417. So sorry about that. I skipped over the labels, which is not a good thing because we want to use we want to make sure we have labels for accessibility purposes. Okay, so let's go down to the first name here. Right before that first name text, we want to add label. Okay. Then I need to add that here to the end of that one, the closing tag. Brackets is funky. Okay, so and then we want to see, add a label, input tags for label first name. Okay, so we also need let's add a couple more labels here. So we want a label around first name. We also want a label around last name. Okay. And email. So we want these just in case somebody's using a screen reader. That way it knows that those are fields for that form. Okay, and then we also want a label for the comments. All right, so let's go down here to comments. And we're going to do label to add 4. Okay, and then in quotes here, comments. Equals. Okay, and the reason we do this, so label 4 comments. And that way that screen reader knows that this is the section where they can add comments in. And we're going to put that right here at the end of this one. Okay. All right, so we have that label for comments. You just have to make sure you have your opening and your closing tags for those labels. And those should be good. So let's save that. All right, now we'll jump back to CSS. All right, because we're going to add a style for those labels. Because we want those to be we want to style the fonts for those as well. So that way the like first name, last name, comments, that text shows up in the font that we want. So let's do font family. We'll do Arial and sans serif. Okay, so let's save this now and take a look. All right. So you can see here now we have that field set, right, for customer information and the legend there. It's using the bold font of Georgia, Times New Roman. And then our labels here for these different fields like first name, last name, and email. Those are using the Arial font. And we also have that border around the field set that we set up here. That's that red color. And we have some, and you notice too, before the line on the field set went all the way to the edge of the browser. We set that at 320 pixels. So it's at a standard set width right now. Okay, I think that's it for that one. So that was form 4. All right. So let's go to 9.5. And remember, you can add as much CSS, so as many styles as you want to the form and the labels, the different sections for that. Okay, so you could add floats, you could add different widths. You can also style the buttons. Okay, so all of that you can do. All right, so this one, 9.5, we're going to add in the action to get this thing to work. All right, so we're on page, let's go to page 424. All right. Let's see what file we're going to use. Okay. Let's see what. Well, let's just use the same one we got here. Okay, so we need to add the action. All right, so let's go in. All right, we're gonna go down here to our form method. Now, instead of get, we're gonna use post. All right, and now we're gonna add action. Okay, and we're gonna send it to this server. It's gonna process it with a PHP script. Okay, so we're gonna use HTTP : where are we going here? Web dev basics.net/scripts/demo.php. And I haven't been to this, I haven't used this in a while, so hopefully it still works. But we will see. All right, so that's all we need to do. We just need to change the method to post and add our, excuse me, add our action for that server-side script. So save as, let's just save this as contact.html. And let's open her up here in the browser. In my info. Okay. See what it does. All right. So it says the information has been received. So you can see what happened. We went from my local HTML file that had our form, and once we hit submit, or I guess it says sign me up on there, it took us to this PHP file on this web dev basics.net server, and it processed that information and sent back to my local client. So it sent back this little piece of data that says your information's been received. Okay, so that's kind of the process of how that works. Okay, so if we were working on like a real page, we're probably going to have these PHP script set up on our own server where it's going to process that data and then store it into a database. Okay, so same principle. All right. Do we have one more here? Let's see, 9.6. All right, yeah, that's the last one. So where are we at? 1 o'clock. Okay, we got time. All right, let's open up, close this one out. In my chapter 9, what are we going to open up here? We're going to open up form css.html. Okay. All right, so we've got some styling already set up here for the background color, font, padding, styles for our labels, input text areas. We also have an ID selector for my submit. Okay. All right, so let's go through the steps here. Page 433, if you're following along. Modify the title element. So contact form. Okay, so we want our H1. We're going to send us your comments. Our H1. All right, we're going to add a paragraph. Okay, so let's go down here. We'll do a couple of line breaks after our H1. Let's add a paragraph element here. It says required fields marked with asterisk. Okay. All right, so let's modify the embedded styles. We're on step 2 here. Form element selector, minimum width of 400 pixels. Change the width of the label to 150, 160. Okay. All right. So for element, we're going to go up here into the styles. Let's add another style here for min width of 400. Right. Width, change the width of the label element to 150. Okay, let's change that. Change the left margin of the my submit to 160. Okay, we'll change that one. And we want to modify the form element to submit using the post method. All right, to that same one. Okay. So we're going to go down here to line 25. And we're going to do method post action. And we're going to send them to that same place that we did a little bit ago, HTTP web dev basics .net/scripts /demo.php. Okay. Let's jump to step 4 here, page 434. All right, so we want name, email, and comments to be required. Okay. All right, so we're going to go down here into the name. Let's add an asterisk before that, okay, because we're trying to tell people that these, all 3 of these are required. Okay, so we have the instructions up here that says required fields marked with an asterisk. All right, and so in the input element here, we need to add a required attribute. So we're going to add required equals required. And we're also going to add in just some placeholder text. So placeholder equals your first name and last name. Now in the email, we need to add that as well for required. A placeholder, do we need placeholder text? Yeah. So this is kind of a best practice as well to always put these placeholder text in here, just so the person knows kind of what to type. And let's add in the comments. We're going to make those required as well. So text area after the column, we'll put required equals required. Okay. All right. So the other thing we're going to add here is a slider control. Okay. So to do that, let's look here. We're going to put after the email. Okay, so after this one, we're going to put label for my rating. Okay, let's do label for equals my rating. I'm going to say that rating 1 to 10. Okay. Oops, a little colon there. All right, now we need to put in the input. Type equals, and we're going to use range. Okay, and let's put, we're going to have our name and our IDs in here. So name equals my rating. ID, I'm going to add that as well. Rating. And we need to add in, so it's going to be a little slider from 1 to 10. So we have to add our values here. So minimum equals 1, and then maximum equals 10. I think that's it. Yep. Okay. Let's go ahead and do a file save as my chapter 9 here. Called form6.html. All right, let's preview it. Okay. So we got our name, email, comments. All right, so let's add in a name here. And for the first time here, I'm going to actually leave the email blank and see if it gives me an error, since that's a required field. We'll put our rating here. Test. All right, so it did work. It says we need to fill out this field for email. And let's submit that now. Okay, cool. So that worked. My information has been received and it's going somewhere. Some webdevbasics.net is collecting my name. I'll probably be on some junk email list now. So anyway, so that is it for chapter 9. So the main thing to take away here, you just need to make sure when you're formatting your form, you include a method and your action, include labels for accessibility, okay? And then your input types, you need to make sure you have a name and an ID. Those can be named exactly the same. And then up here in your styling, you can add all the different styles to make this however you want it to look. Okay, so a lot of different options and flexibilities there with the CSS, which is kind of nice to be able to make that form look like you want it. All right, so that is it for chapter 9. With the case study, you'll just be adding in a simple form into one of those pages for Pacific Trails. So get that finished up this week. Turn in the class activities for chapter 9. There's one quiz to go along as well. I will add in, I see I haven't put the slides in yet for chapter 9, so I'll get that added in today as well. And then just the only other thing is your sitemap and wireframe for your final project. Okay. So no Zoom, no class on Friday. I have a doctor's appointment that I have to go to in the morning, but I'll check email between now and then and over the weekend. So if you run into any issues, just shoot me an email, let me know, and get that figured out. And then really we're starting to wrap things up. We do skip chapter 10 in the book. I'd encourage you to read through it, but a lot of that information we cover in more detail in our other courses, in our web development courses. So take a look at it, just review it. There's no quiz or anything over chapter 10. We will cover chapter 11 next week. We're going to add some video and audio multimedia to our pages. And then 12 and 13, no quizzes or anything on those. We're just going to briefly cover those for some additional information. And then we're just wrapping things up with your guys' final website project. So we're getting closer. The end is going to be in sight here. So that is all I got today. You guys have a great weekend. Have a happy Halloween, safe Halloween, and we'll see everybody on Monday. See you later.